You know the moment when everything seems calm on the outside, but something explosive is brewing underneath. That's exactly what fans are saying right now as shocking rumors regarding Bambi, Mendeecees, and Yandy begin to surface. And trust me when I say that a complex tale is being whispered. Numerous online discussions and increasing discussion on fan pages suggest that Bambi has made a declaration that has stunned everyone. She's hinting at an affair. It's possible that an affair caused everything to alter behind the scenes. Alright, before we proceed, let's be clear. It is all based on circulating news and discussion. Nothing has been officially confirmed. But because of the way this story is circulating, people are discussing it. Because this isn't just a bunch of unrelated rumors. Fans are taken aback. This involves relationships, loyalty, and a dynamic that many believed was already complicated. And as soon as Bambi's alleged statement started to receive media notice, Mendeecees became the focus of attention. His response: strong denial, nearly defensive, nearly instantaneous. Things started to feel even more intense at that time. If this hadn't happened, why is the energy changing in this manner? Meanwhile, Yandy, who is often seen as the composed person in such situations, is claimed to be troubled by the rumors alone. I'm not necessarily confirming anything, but I'm also not discounting it. That silence is forcing fans to read between the lines. While emotions are raging and sides are subtly chosen, the internet is doing what it does best: digging deeper, challenging everything, and creating connections that may or may not even exist. The real question is if this is just another overly dramatic narrative that has gotten out of hand, or is there something real hiding behind these claims that might fundamentally change the circle? Because a narrative like this rarely ends amicably once it starts. The mood looked thick even before a word was said. Tension was in the air, as though something insurmountable was going to happen. Bambi leaned back a bit. Although her attitude appeared calm, there was more to it than that, and others who were close to her could feel it. No one interrupted her. Not a single person moved, because anything she was going to say has already gained popularity on the internet, which is where it took place. She didn't scream or make a big dramatic charge. Instead, she spoke softly and carefully, as if knowing that each syllable would resound long after it was spoken. She made reference to an issue that had been emerging in the background. Something changed everything, she claimed. Not just her opinion, but how she perceived those she had previously trusted. You don't realize what's really going on until it's too late, she would sometimes say quietly. Only that one sentence caused the room to tremble. People started staring at each other as they attempted to read between the lines. It was immediately noted by fans watching from the outside as well. Social media users responded to what she said with hypotheses, videos, and analyses. The fact that she didn't immediately disclose names made it much more dramatic, and people's emotions were running high as they tried to figure out exactly what she meant. But as the conversation continued, it seemed harder to ignore the implication. A possible affair started to pop up. Again, just what people were identifying with and what she was hinting at was confirmed. However, the way she talked about it and the way her tone shifted when certain topics came up gave listeners the impression that there was more to the story than what was said clearly. I stayed quiet for a long time, she added, her voice firm but clearly weighted. But when something changes everything, you can't pretend anymore. Hit a fresh chord. Fans were shocked not just by what she was suggesting but also by the potential attendees. Mendeecees quickly became the talk of the town since, if the rumors were even slightly true, his name would be at the center of them. And as soon as the rumors started spreading, he answered. It was neither slow nor reluctant. It was immediate and firm. He denied everything. That's not true, he reportedly said, clearly aware of how rapidly the story was becoming popular. People are distorting things like music. But at this time, nothing was slowed down by his rejection, so things got trickier. If anything, it piqued people's interest in. Fans began evaluating both sides, contrasting Bambi's calm yet somber comments with his direct and defensive response. Some took him seriously right away, claiming that this was just another example of uncontrollably spreading rumors. Some weren't so sure. Why does this seem like there's more to it? One fan remarked. And that's the thing about situations like this. Yandy's reaction, on the other hand, became a topic of discussion in all of itself. Once doubt enters the conversation, spreads fast. She didn't get involved right away. She didn't post long explanations or try to publicly shut down anything. Instead, she radiated a unique energy that was more subdued and insightful. Her quiet also conveyed a lot. People started analyzing her facial expressions, body language, and even the smallest details of her appearance. Fans are always keeping an eye on things, and just now they were paying close attention. She seems shaken. You can tell something's off, one user said. Another said, again, nothing confirmed, only reactions, observations, and the situation as seen from the outside. But in reality theater, emotions often have an equal impact on the narrative as facts. Furthermore, because Mendeecees' denials and Bambi's remarks were no longer the primary causes, pressure was building behind the scenes. It has to do with the reactions of everyone connected to them. Pals started getting pulled into conversations that they probably didn't want to take part in. Group discussions were flourishing and private calls were occurring. People were trying to figure out what was real and what wasn't. One individual reportedly said, "I don't want to be in the middle of this," but at this point it was impossible to avoid the story, which had already taken on a life of its own. Even though Bambi hadn't given all the information, she had already disclosed enough to totally change the energy. Because of the confidence in her voice and the way she conducted herself, people could tell she believed what she said. This made it harder to dismiss because even in the lack of hard proof, the emotional impact of her comments was clear. The conversation then got considerably more detailed. Fans began revisiting past conversations, circumstances, and videos that didn't seem important at the time. Now there was a new perspective on everything. "Remember when she said that a few months ago? This clarifies a lot," someone remarked. "It was like a puzzle that people were trying to solve in real time," another person remarked. But for the participants, this was more than just entertainment. You could see that this was a private thing. The tension between what was being expressed in public and what might be happening behind closed doors created a kind of pressure that is hard to let go of. With every new reply, post, and quiet moment, the situation grew more complicated. And the most crucial question remained unanswered. Was this really about an affair that changed everything? Or was there something deeper and more complex that had not yet come to light? Because sometimes the first version of a story is only the beginning. And as things progressed, it became clear that the problem would not be fixed anytime soon. Some had expected the energy to fade, but it didn't. People near the scene started to react quietly as soon as first. Instead of overt announcements or loud altercations, there were only slight changes to the tone, attitude, and conversations. And fans saw it all. "He sounded too quick to deny it," remarked one participant. "Or maybe he's just tired of rumors," observed another. There was a gap. It showed how divisive things had already become through. Then Bambi talked again, just enough to keep the tension high. Not a breakdown nor a detailed explanation. Even though she didn't raise her voice or give details, her remarks had weight in a new way this time. "Truth doesn't have to be loud," she said quietly. "Only the assertion. It just needs to be real." Sent into yet another downward spiral on the internet. Fans are shocked. Feelings were burning hot again since it was now more than just what had happened. It was about the people that people trusted. In such situations, the audience's belief also becomes almost intimate. While it was playing, discussions behind the scenes were getting more and more heated. People who had been silent started to inquire, check in, and try to understand what was actually happening. It didn't appear like anyone was getting the complete picture, even when some people got in touch with Mendeecees personally and others with Bambi. "What's really happening?" a buddy reportedly asked, to which the response was, "It's not what people think." However, even that answer felt insufficient. If it wasn't what people thought, then what was it? And because of that uncertainty, things kept moving. Everything is moving. But Yandy could no longer keep quiet. The situation was now making her response a part of the story itself. When she did talk, it was enough to show that she understood what was being said, even though it wasn't loud or dramatic. "People will talk," she said warily, "but not everything merits a response." Her tone seemed deliberate and controlled, as though she was choosing her words carefully to avoid making things worse. Supporters, however, did not believe it to be objective. She was seen as something by some. Others said she appeared to be trying to stay out of the commotion. Some believed she already knew more than she was revealing. The observation was made. And she is not disputing it either. That's what makes it strange, according to another. She was suddenly under more pressure because silence simultaneously makes a message in such circumstances. The wider circle around them started to feel the effects. Friends were being asked to take sides in music without even wanting to. Arguments developed from discussions. Even small meetings had an awkward atmosphere, as if everyone was thinking the same thing but was reluctant to voice it. One person mumbled, "This is getting out of control." It was to tell the truth, because it was now hard to disregard the full-fledged discourse that had started off as a subtle hint. The family was divided more by perception, emotion, and how each person perceived what was happening than by confirmed facts. Then things took a different turn. Something from the past resurfaced. It was just a discussion, a clip, and something that didn't seem important at the moment. But now that everything was happening, it started to get attention again. Fans began connecting it to the current situation, interpreting every detail as though it held a hidden meaning. Someone noticed that they had previously interacted with each other. Another said, "That's not normal." The time period suddenly joined the story, and the situation became considerably more complicated because there was no longer a single claim or denial. People were trying to piece it together whether or not there was a pattern. The audience did not keep quiet during this. He addressed the growing rumors once more, but in a somewhat more agitated tone. "People need to stop reaching," he retorted. "Not everything you hear or see is true." It seemed more direct and strong, as though he was trying to completely turn off. However, the conversation went on once more, because by now the issue had gone beyond simple pronouncements. After people became emotionally attached to it, logic was no longer always in control of the narrative. However, Bambi did not back down either. Her unwavering calmness added to the mystery almost too much. She didn't dodge the conversation, but she also didn't pursue it. When she did speak, it was always purposeful, leaving just enough unsaid to elicit thinking. "I know what I experienced, and that's enough for me," she said at one point. Those remarks contained no explicit accusations, but they also didn't offer any explanation, which is exactly why they hit so hard. No wasn't only a matter of proof. It has to do with viewpoint. Additionally, opinions rarely align precisely, especially in situations that are emotionally charged. The tension between what was being experienced, what was being denied, and what was being expressed continued to grow. With every new reaction, a new layer, viewpoint, and possibility emerged. Is the biggest barrier for everyone involved. Since handling the matter too much could make it worse, there was no clear way to move forward without making it worse. Ignoring it completely, nevertheless, could convey the appearance that something is being hidden. It is almost impossible to keep that balance. As a result, this difficult middle ground persisted. When something wasn't fully established, it wasn't rejected in a way that satisfied everyone, and the conversation just kept evolving. As more individuals turned to face them and more perspectives filled the room, one thing became clear. This was not just a passing moment. It was developing into something more, something that would alter people's perceptions of one another, future relationships, and reputations. As the noise level kept rising, the situation started to take on a life of its own. It was no longer only what was said. It concentrated on the real-time reactions of people to it. Every look, pause, and fleeting conversation was scrutinized by fans as if it held a secret message. At that point, instead of just arguing the matter, people started to take sides based on their feelings, which made matters more personal. Some were adamantly in favor of Bambi, arguing that her calm demeanor was too real to be ignored. Those who backed him said that Mendeecees' outright rejection should be enough to put an end to everything. Then there were people who watched Yandy closely, trying to figure out her stance without her having to say it. "You can't imitate that type of excitement," one fan said of Bambi. Or maybe she just knows how to control the narrative and someone else took revenge. That back and forth simply added to the atmosphere's weight. Behind closed doors, conversations were no longer secret. They spoke louder. There were more direct queries. When something like this happens, people who had been trying to remain impartial were forced into difficult talks because there comes a time when remaining silent is no longer an option. Someone allegedly said, "Just tell the truth," during a trying period. But the problem is that everyone had their own interpretation of what happened, which is why it was so challenging. Bambi didn't alter her tone and stayed composed. If anything, she seemed more confident and grounded in her manner. She wasn't seeking approval, but she also wasn't giving up. "I'm not here to convince anyone," she responded calmly. "I simply won't pretend that it struck a different note than everything that had before occurred because hints and nuanced connotations were no longer pertinent." It was about embracing her perspective without looking for approval, which, in the eyes of some, greatly increased her legitimacy. Others, though, had a different question. If she was so sure, why didn't she give a clear explanation? The lingering doubt compounded an already complicated situation. Mendeecees started to feel the pressure in a different way. In the meantime, his denial, which had previously been strong, was being repeatedly tested in. He didn't want to, but every time the topic arose or someone offered new speculation, he felt obliged to bring it up. He said, "I've already said what I needed to say," in one discussion. His tone had changed noticeably, becoming sharper than before. The fans could see the nuisance right away. "He sounds exhausted," someone remarked. "Or perhaps he's catching up," someone other remarked. Again, merely interpretations, no conclusive answer. And that's how things kept evolving. Why? Yandy. Because she was caught in the middle of everything. She started to show more and more overt signs that the situation was affecting her. Rather than big and grandiose announcements, there were small human reactions that were hard to ignore. A look that was too long, a pause before answering a question. There was a change in energy that many could not quite put their finger on. Someone saw that she was trying to keep her strength. "But you can tell this is impacting her," another person remarked. At that point, the emotional weight of everything became apparent because these were actual connections under pressure, not just rumors or conjecture. Moreover, such type of pressure is transient. Then something else occurred that made the situation even more challenging. During a group conversation that was already heated, something unexpected happened. Without leveling any charges, a comment was made that was strong enough to instantly alter the mood. Sometimes the truth is revealed in bits and pieces. The voice was quiet. The room went still. That kind of statement doesn't just happen. Everyone could sense, but no one responded right away. They had to do with everything that has already been covered, and it appeared like things were spiraling out of control at that very moment. Bambi didn't respond, but her quiet had the same impact as her words. Mendeecees looked away, clearly unwilling to keep things going. Yandy as well. She just sat there taking it all in. Deciphering her face was harder than ever. The family was deeply divided, however subtly. Some did not look each other in the eye. Some of them stopped talking altogether, while others chose their words more carefully. They had lost faith in their viewpoint. Beyond that circle, the crowd kept growing. People started paying closer attention. As other perspectives started to surface, the plot continued to expand beyond its original confines. What had started out as a claim had now grown into a full narrative influenced by reactions, emotions, and how each person handled the strain. It was no longer totally under anyone's control, which was the biggest shift. Because once a story reaches that stage, it no longer belongs to the people involved. It develops into something bigger, unpredictable, and subject to change at any time.